Good morning, and welcome to Veterans Day, November 11th, 2023. I'm Lieutenant Commander Robert Dunne, United States Navy, retired. I am the commander of the Peabody Veterans Council. For those who are not aware, the Peabody Veterans Council represents 10 Peabody area veterans organizations. These organizations are the 26th Yankee Division Veterans Association of the North Shore, 2nd Corps Cadets, the Marine Corps League of Essex County, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American War Veterans, Portuguese American War Veterans, Polish Legion of American Veterans, Jewish War Veterans of the USA of the North Shore Post 220, Fleet Reserve Association, and the American Legion. I'd like to make note that we have two of our organizations missing today. The 26th Yankee Division Veterans Association is missing today because they're at Reading at dedication of the flagpole for 13 World War I 26th Yankee Division veterans. And the Jewish War veterans will not be here because today is their Shabbat. The Peabody Veterans Council organizes, coordinates the annual Memorial Day Parade, flags the city's veterans' graves at Peabody cemeteries in May, and collects the flags in December. We participate in many veterans events throughout the year, including Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Peabody Veterans Council also sponsors annual scholarships for descendants of Peabody veterans and donates food and clothing to the veterans in need. Like all civic organizations, our numbers are dwindling. Just take a look around. Some of the veterans who were here last year are no longer here with us. Remember them on Veterans Day. Memorial Day, apologize. We are always looking for new members to join and participate in our organizations. Today we honor our veterans of all wars and times of service. As commander of the Peabody Veterans Council, I'd like to thank Mayor Ted Bettencourt, his staff, the staff of Peabody City Hall, and also the Peabody Veterans Service Officer, Steve Patton, for this morning's ceremony. I'd like to make note that November is also Military Family Appreciation Month. Thank you to all the families who served along with us. Without them, we could not have done what we did. Please stand for the national anthem. The national anthem will be sung by Peabody Veterans Memorial High School student Riley Linger.
Read them. Colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's rigor, no bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Riley. Thank you, Riley. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. I call upon Walter Blazewics, the chaplain of the Veterans Council, to give the invocation.
Uncover.
Let us pray. Lord, as veterans, we thank you for allowing us to serve our nation in the armed forces of the United States. To protect our homeland through service at home and abroad was a true honor. On this Veterans Day, we remember those who served and those who are now serving our nation. We ask for your continued blessings on all veterans and your protection of our service members on active duty at home and abroad. Amen. Cover.
I'd like to introduce the Mayor, Ted Bettencourt, for remarks in recognition of elected officials and introductions.
Good morning. It is my privilege to welcome all of you here today to Peabody City Hall as we honor our veterans and their families. It's always a very important morning in the city of Peabody, and I thank you for sharing and being a part of this. I wanted to recognize a number of people that are here today and start with our students from Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. Thank you for being a part of our ceremony. Our police officers and firefighters, so many of them are veterans themselves. I wanted to recognize our excellent veterans agent and his team, Steve Patton. Thank you, Steve, for all your hard work. And our outstanding Peabody Veterans Council for the work putting this program together, as well as Memorial Day, and for all the work they do for our city. Thank you, veterans. I want to recognize our elected officials that are here today. I wrote them down because I always forget one. From our city council, an honored veteran himself, Ryan Melville, Councilor Ann Manning Martin, Craig Welton, the president of the council this year, Peter McGinn, Dave Gamache, and Mark O'Neill. And I also want to recognize our soon-to-be Ward 6 councilor, Mike Higgins, who's here today. From our school committee, Beverly Ann Griffin Dunne and John Olympio. And from the Municipal Light Commission, Tracy Valetti. Thank you all for being here today, as you always are. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. I do have some remarks I'm going to be making later in the program, but I wanted to ask at this time our state representative who's here today, Tom Walsh, to come up and say a few words. State Rep.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor, for your introduction, and thank you all for joining today to honor our veterans, not only here in the city of Peabody, but across the United States. I have the privilege of presenting a citation to the Peabody Veterans Council in honor of the work that you do year-round to serve our veterans across the city. And this is from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to the Peabody Veterans Council in recognition of your outstanding honor and service to all veterans in the city of Peabody. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. And this is signed by Representative Sally Kearns, who represents the residents of Ward 6 in Peabody, myself, and the House Speaker, Ron Mariano. And I just want to say to all the veterans, you hear it all the time, but the words mean so much. Thank you for your service. We so much appreciate it, and what we have every day in our lives is because of the efforts and the sacrifice that all of you have made, and we thank you for that.
Like all of us, I've been extremely blessed. Family, friends, a home, employment, so many things in my life that I'm so fortunate to have, so many blessings. And as State Representative Walsh mentioned, so much of those gifts have been provided by all of you, our veterans, their families, so much sacrifice, so much that you have given to us. And those words, again, mean so much to me, to my family, to all of us. And I want to thank you. Thank you for your service, your patriotism, your selflessness, your generosity of spirit. That is so meaningful in so many ways, and I often feel a thank you is not enough. But it's sincere and true, and I want to thank all of you for your service to our country. We have been provided a great deal in life, and these moments are so important to be able to take this moment to thank all of you. We're going to have our Veterans Breakfast again next year, every other year. We'll be honoring a number of service members, and hopefully all of you will be able to come. I can promise you it's going to be much warmer in there and not as windy than it is out here. I wanted to read the proclamation from our governor recognizing Veterans Day, and I just wanted to take a moment to read this. A proclamation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Whereas since the Commonwealth's earliest days, thousands of men and women have served our country in defense of freedom and liberty. And whereas on November 11th, 1918, after 4 years of conflict, the armistice was signed in the Forest of Campaign by the Allied nations and Germany, ending World War I, the war to end all wars. And whereas since that day, every November, people from around the nation have gathered to honor our veterans. And whereas in November 2023, the world will commemorate the 105th anniversary of the armistice that ended the fighting in World War I at 11 a.m., November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And whereas there are approximately 300,000 veterans living in Massachusetts, and whereas today we are reminded of the great sacrifices and contributions our veterans have made to our country, and whereas we honor and salute those who have served our country throughout the generations with honor, patriotism, and courage, and whereas it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who serve their country so that their dedication and sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. And now, therefore, Maura T. Healey, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, does hereby proclaim November 11th, 2023 to be Veterans Day, and urge all residents of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance, as we do this morning. So thank you again to our veterans, our families, and our special note before I step aside is to pray for all of those service members, men and women across our country, across the world that are serving us today. There's a lot going on, certainly in our world, and thankfully we have those members, just like all of you, our veterans that have in the past. We have men and women willing to stand up and protect our country and protect our freedoms. Thank you.
Today, we celebrate America's veterans by keeping the nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. But we'd also like a moment to respect those who gave their lives for our country by placing a wreath in front of monuments. I call upon the Peabody Veterans Memorial High School military instructor, Lieutenant Colonel Ray Erickson, and Mayor Ted Bettencourt to place a wreath at the base of World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam monuments honoring the citizens of Peabody who made the supreme sacrifice for our country so that they may live in peace. Throughout history, women have made the tremendous sacrifices serving our nation with distinction. As we watch women serving bravely in the war against terror, it is safe to say the future of women in the military seems assured. I call upon Captain Lydia Todd, U.S. Air Force retired, and Corporal Tanya Lopes, U.S. Marine Corps, Peabody firefighter, to take this a token of our appreciation in front of the Women's Veterans Monument and celebrate their remarkable role in American women's history. Yeah, you just move it over. John.
Vincent. Huh? Order. Huh?
It is with great pleasure I introduce our guest speaker today, Captain Lydia Todd, U.S. Air Force retired. Captain Todd has over 21 years in the U.S. Air Force. Captain Todd holds a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. She graduated from UMass Boston with a master's in applied sociology. She has served in both enlisted and officer in the United States Air Force. She was commissioned as a Medical Corps Services Officer in 1994. She retired in 2002. Captain Todd is a mother of 5, and her husband, Colonel Robert Sousa, is also retired from the U.S. Air Force. She presently serves as the Executive Director for NFI Massachusetts and has been on more than 35 years of professional civilian work in the human services and criminal justice. She teaches criminal justice classes at UMass Boston. She serves at several state-level task forces and boards for 2 trade organizations, addressing the challenges of human services field. She's excited to share her thoughts about the military service means to her and how her family has been impacted by the service. Please welcome Captain Todd.
Good morning, veterans, family members of veterans, and friends. I am pleased to share some of my reflections on service today. Veterans have so many different experiences. Some gave all and are remembered on Memorial Day. Some gave substantially through loss of limb, function, brain injury, and PTSD. And many of us stood ready to give, but were privileged to receive more than we gave through our service. For those of us lucky enough to be in that last category, while we always appreciate being honored on Veterans Day, we feel blessed to have been able to serve, and we are always mindful of our brothers and sisters in arms who gave more. I am fortunate to count myself among those who served largely out of harm's way. In fact, I credit the military with having saved my life and setting me on the right path. Due to family issues, I was in the foster care system, did not finish high school, and was not sure what to do with my life. My grandfather was retired Air Force, and I always admired the predictable, structured, and comparatively sane life that he and my grandmother had built. So at age 18, with GED in hand, I showed up at the local recruiter's office and enlisted. I went to basic training and then school to become a veterinary technician, and my first assignment was to the Azores, where I inspected the food coming on base and took care of the military canines and the animals of local farmers. While I attended college at night, I spent most of my days with the local population where I could learn about another culture. I enjoyed this remote assignment so much that I extended it to the maximum of 3 years. In the early 1980s, military women were still restricted in what work they could do, and we were significantly outnumbered by men, especially at a remote assignment, with a ratio of 14 men to every woman. Holding my own in a shop where I was the only female turned me into an overachiever because I had to prove myself competent and worthy and overcome the stigma that women were not as capable as men and in fact did not belong in the military. From the Azores, I was assigned to Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho, which was a bigger culture shock. I was in a shop with 17 men. The after-work activities, besides going to college, were limited to elk hunting, salmon fishing, and bowling. I remained in Idaho on active duty for 3 years and then transferred to the Guard to attend graduate school at UMass Boston, using my Veterans Educational Assistance money. I was at Otis Air National Guard Base for 2 years and then transferred to Westover Air Reserve Base, where I received a commission as a Medical Service Corps officer. It was there that I met my husband, Robert Sousa. By 2002, he and I had accumulated 5 children, 3 under the age of 8, and we concluded that national security did not depend on both of us staying in the military, so I retired while he continued on for another decade. In my civilian job, I have worked full-time in criminal justice and human services, and I teach at UMass Boston part-time. My military ethic and insistence on alignment around mission, values, and vision has guided me in every position, and I hope keeps those who work with me focused on doing the right things in the right way. The military did so much for me. It provided stability, structure, predictability, and an education. It taught me civility, an unrivaled work ethic, and most importantly, that leadership begins with the self. The values that I learned, integrity, service before self, and excellence in all we do, translated to my civilian positions and allowed me to uphold a mission focus that helps people to set aside their differences in pursuit of a common and worthwhile goal. In addition to getting my undergraduate degree on active duty, the military paid for my graduate school education and now provides a small pension that will help me retire comfortably from my civilian job eventually. I love to celebrate all the veterans I get to work with in my civilian job because I know they also have a mission-focused sense of service and selflessness. They are dependable and reliable. Being a female veteran means I count myself as especially lucky. Only 6.4% of the adult U.S. population are veterans, and only about 10% of those are women. When Bob Dunne asked me to speak, he suggested I comment also on being a military spouse. On reflection, I realized that being a military couple is also a unique experience. The first few years of being in the military together were intense as we expanded our family by 3 children in a 4-year period. We both drilled twice a month and performed additional administrative days to prepare our units for their drill weekends. We had to keep an active plan for our children in the event we were called up. Our mothers and siblings watched the children regularly and even traveled with us when the kids were too young to leave behind. Our children enjoyed spending time with their relatives, and when we were called to report after 9/11, we sent them to the various siblings as planned. The kids were disappointed when we had to collect them after just a few days because the Air Force did not need us yet. The children had been looking forward to that extended sleepover. I did not have the experience of a typical military spouse until shortly after I retired from the Air Force, when my husband was called up for what turned out to be 2 years. Fortunately for me, he was at Westover, and we were able to see him most weekends. Fortunately for us, because I also share a service mentality, there was never, well, hardly ever, any sense of resentment, jealousy, or of being neglected. Still, after 2 years, it was quite an adjustment to have him back full-time. We had developed a different kind of rhythm without him. When he was asked to serve at Headquarters Air Force Reserve in Georgia for another 2 years, the children were older and we fell easily into a routine that worked. In addition to family, we had a cadre of supporters, the children of our daycare provider, the children of our church pastor, and a former co-worker who performed all manner of service to keep our family functioning. From driving the kids to babysitting, cooking dinner, light housekeeping, and even putting up decorations for holidays, these additional helpers meant everything to our family during those 2 years. It was tough, especially when a child was sick, but we made it through. My employer was also very patient with my suddenly being the only available parent for 2 years on 2 different occasions. We really leaned on our community and family, but the children learned independence and confidence, and as a family, we felt ready for anything, always hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. So yes, I got more than I gave, and I know some veterans who gave a lot who still insist they received more than they gave. I am ever aware of those of us who need our help and support as they get through physical, mental health, and substance use crises in their own lives. We need to be there for them and leave no one behind. Veterans take care of one another, and we need everyone in our community to help those who have served to continue doing what vets do best, which is being of service in varying capacities throughout our lives. And veterans do not do it alone. They lean on their family, friends, employers, co-workers, and community for support while on duty and afterward. We lean on all of you. Thank you to all the veterans, family members, and friends here. Please do thank us for our service, but also know how grateful we are to have been of service. Thank you.
Hold on. Present.
I call upon the chaplain, Walter Blazewics, for the closing benediction.
Uncover.
Let us pray. Lord, it is time for us to part. We thank our wonderful city of Peabody for honoring our veterans today and always. Lord, bless our service members as they guard our freedom and keep them from harm's way. Amen.
We're happy here today to express our appreciation to our veterans. True appreciation is expressed through deeds, not words. And do not underestimate the power of simply saying thank you to veterans that you encounter. While America owes these heroes a debt that cannot be fully repaid, showing our appreciation is the least we can do. Thank you all for being here. God bless America and God bless our veterans. I'd like to introduce Mr. Herb Harris of the Rotary to discuss an event that will be following the ceremony.
Good morning. A lot of my beginning remark, I think you copied a lot of what I was about to say. Because I'm a Vietnam era veteran, and I emphasize the word era because I was never in combat, I was never in harm's way. But a lot of our veterans were in harm's way, and many of them came back injured. Some physical, some psychological, some lifelong injuries, some not so lifelong, but very devastating, both physical and psychological. And they've turned to the Peabody Veterans Services and Steve Patton. He's helped them find treatments, get appointments, referrals for appointments, get them rides to their appointments, get them disability. Any veterans who have had financial problems, they've helped. They've done a lot. And I asked Steve for a list of everything that his department does. It was too long for me to express here. There's so much he does. Plus the breakfast every other year. It's fantastic. Does a great job. So I'm asking, so Peabody Rotary is doing a walk today in support of the Veteran Services Department. Hopefully everybody will make a donation to this wonderful group. You can go to the Peabody Rotary Facebook page, and there's a post for this walk, and there's a link to donations. If you're not on Facebook, go to the Peabody Rotary Taste North Shore page, and there's a link to Happy Dollars, and that will get you to the same place. And make sure you write down Veterans Walk. That's great, and I thank you for that. The other half of our walk is service. Peabody's Rotary's motto is service above self. And we are doing this walk for veterans to serve those who have served for us. We'll soon be walking to the monument right over there in Courthouse Plaza, where Rotarians will spend the afternoon cleaning up the area and cleaning the monument. The monument was erected in 1881 in memory of 71 residents of South Danvers, which later became Peabody, who died in the Civil War. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to start right here and walk across the street and to the monument. And I encourage everybody to help veterans. If you know a veteran, help clean your yards. Do some work around the house. Run errands for them. Just keep them company. And they will appreciate it, and I will too, and all veterans will. And let's see, what else? And I also want to thank Stephanie Johnson, who is our chair who in charge of all our service projects, who's running the cleanup. So, and tomorrow, I just found out tomorrow, Interact, which is the high school group of Rotary, is going to be doing some cleanups of yards for widows of veterans. So I think that's a really nice thing we're going to be doing. So, without much else to do, I'm going to ask Colonel Erickson. There you go. Could you have Colonel Erickson? Could you have the group go over?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll close it out.
And then him. Okay, I'm going to walk right over there and just follow the high school ROTC group and enjoy it. And thank you very much. And to all my fellow veterans, thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Herb, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service, Herb. Also, a belated happy birthday to the Marines. Yesterday, of course, was the Marine Corps birthday. And I also want to thank the Peabody Fire and Peabody Police Department Color Guard who have been just sitting there. God bless you, for standing there so long. Anyway, I close out. Thank you all. Ball out.